This time on Low Boost, we put an improved racing thermostat to add onto our oil cooler for a C5 track car. If you guys watched in previous videos, I upgraded the radiator with a Dewitts Radiator that also has a built-in oil cooler. But instead of just running lines to the oil cooler, you want to have it work the right way because you want the car to get up to temperature, which is why I got an improved racing thermostat. This goes right above where your oil filter would be, and we just have to make some lines to it, and this runs right to our oil cooler, and it's set for 180 degrees, so it'll allow the car's oil to get up to temperature before it actually kicks on the oil cooler in need for cooling. Because sometimes if you just let it run, you might not even get up to 180 degrees, which isn't good for your car, especially if you're driving it hard. So let's go put this on right now. Also, I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of other things, so if you're watching the channel right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button because all this stuff is kind of being done at the same time. Now, I am doing long tube headers, so check my info for the video on the install on that. But while we're in the middle of that, I have extra space right now to actually get access to where the oil cooler is gonna be. So while the headers are dragging down right now, I'm gonna go ahead and install that. So first thing we have to do is remove those two bolts there, and then we can get started. So here's the old oil pressure sensor housing. So this actually is what gets replaced, and this directly bolts right onto there. So I'm gonna remove this, and then Improved Racing actually sells an adapter that you put in so you can still run the original oil pressure sensor. So let's go ahead and remove that. Improved Racing is great. So they are, not only do they include the new bolts, lock off if you're gonna use it, and the gasket, but they also give you a special oil pressure sensor and the 10AN and ORB fittings to put on the inside because that's what we're gonna run there. So they do suggest using 90 degrees to out to and 90 degree back in when you're making the lines. But right now we're gonna put these together and fit everything up to the car. All right, so some special instructions they want you to pay attention to. Use thread sealant when you're putting this on. And because these are AN fittings with an ORB orb on them, they want you to use a little bit of oil to lubricate these before you stick them on. So we did that. And they want you to use an AN wrench, but I don't have AN wrenches. But on a 10 AN, it seems that a 25 millimeter will do the trick. However, I'm probably gonna scratch up the anodized finishing a little bit, so I'm just trying to be really careful with it because it's so pretty. That should seat pretty good. Like I said, I don't want to... Using steel on the anodized like that will scratch it. Just trying to give it some space. Now it's nice and snug. And a little scratch there. There. Now it's all ready to go on the car with the included gasket. And they gave you the bolts for it too. Obviously, if the manifold was, if the header was off, we would be able to do it, but I wanted to at least show you that you could do this without having to take out your entire header or exhaust manifold to be able to get this done. So let's see how easy this is. Now, obviously, I still got to run my AN lines, but I want to have this in the position that it has to be in before I go ahead and do that, because we got to make sure they match up right. And then actually now, I am gonna bolt the header up where it's supposed to be. That way, I don't have to worry about, oh, when I put the header back where it's supposed to be, I can't get my lines anywhere. But I also want to keep them away as well. Maybe we'll try to tuck them up somewhere. So let's see. Just so you guys can see what we're working with now. So that's back in, the plug's on. Just gonna put the ground back and get everything connected. And then the only thing I'm seeing here, it looks like there's one hose back there. I'm not sure what that's for. That is going to be in the way of the AN line, so I just might have to move that around, but let's see how we do. But that's what it looks like installed. All right, if you guys watched me install the radiator in the previous episode, you would know that I ended up having to cut away just that bottom part of the shroud where the drain plug is. And I also had to cut away a little section of the where the radiator is for the outlet for the oil return, and then the feed all the way up there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run from here where the AN lines are there, and obviously I'm gonna drop the header again to be able to do this, but we're gonna run from there. The return is at the bottom, and the top one is the feed. I learned the hard way about getting eBay AN fittings. So trust me, they'll save you the headache for doing it twice. Buy once, cry once. Get decent fittings. I got these on Summit. They haven't steered me wrong yet with my fuel system, so they should be just fine for this one. All right, when you're making AN fittings, you want to use a vise. I try to tape up the vise a little bit to kind of help protect the AN fitting itself. And then you want to do a better job than I did of actually cutting this. You thread on this first. You want that nice and snug right up against the backing of it there until it's nice and snug there. Sometimes it's actually good to use motor oil. I'm gonna grab some just to put over that. You just kind of push it in here and spin. Once you get it to a good spot that it's nice and tight, then this goes in the vise and then you tighten this down. They do this on purpose, so then you have to buy an AN wrench, which is a pain. Let's scratch it up a little bit. One done. Same thing on this side. Make sure it's flush on inside there. Smush it in. Use a little motor oil on this just to get it good so it moves easier inside of there. I like to hold the bottom of it so it doesn't spin. Sometimes they do, the cheaper ones do. This one doesn't seem to be spinning. Spinning ain't winning. No, locked and loaded. One came out pretty good. This thing still should be able to rotate like that. Nice and tight. Got to return. So Improved Racing recommends you use two 90-degree angles coming out of there. So I did the return already, and I went underneath the engine mount there, over and underneath the steering rack, and then I'll just zip tie this so it stays nice in place. But you'll want to make sure you don't have it on the outside of this cradle or anywhere where a tire or a piece of moving suspension can hit. So that's where I ran the bottom, and let's figure out the top. Running it the same way from the bottom, I just came up in front of the brake controller, whatever that awful thing is that goes bad on these things. Ran it right in front of my hoses, so it's in front of the accessory drive, and then the 90 degree is going to go here. I will have to take the coolant hose off to get that on, but I haven't bled the coolant yet, so there's no coolant in right now, so that'll be easy. But I ordered two 90 degree angle ones and two straight ones, so I need one more 90 degree. So the out needs two 90 degree 10 AN fittings, and the return needs one 90 degree and one straight. I guess you could get away with a 45 if you really want to as well. So I gotta order some of those, and so that's gonna wrap it up just for now. Stay tuned. I didn't get a chance to film me putting the last fitting on, but if you take off that coolant hose, it's gonna work out just fine getting it on there. I did a track day, so I actually have some data to report about my DeWitt's radiator / oil cooler with the Improved Racing oil cooler thermostat. So driving around town, my coolant temps were like not even over 190, and the oil temperatures got to like low 200s, like 205, 206. And on track, my coolant temps never got over 195 in 71 degree weather, and my oil temperatures didn't get over 240, which they were like 290, 285, 290 if I stayed out on track. I had to come in after like 15 minutes, and the car actually lasted a full 20 minutes out there, 20-minute sessions, and it was great. So that improved racing oil cooler mixed in with the Dewitts Radiator / oil cooler worked out fantastic. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, I'll put links to them in the description below. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date by hitting that subscribe button, because I'm going to document my experiences that I just did at the track day in a future video. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.